All
Uh,
right. So new events. What's going on?
I'm going back to Matt's live.
How are things?
I was I in two studios at the same time. I was in because
I don't
I
know.
couldn't like I didn't hear from you, and I'm like, shit, he overslept. And then I made a new stream, and I wanted to invite you.
Very good.
And then do you hear me? Is there a lag?
No, I don't hear you. I don't think
okay.
there's any lag. I don't know.
Okay, good.
All right. How are things? Sorry, yes,
Yeah,
I was snoozing, but at the same time, I was giving it a little bit of time for them to get set up because I saw they hadn't started as of yet. So
it's okay. They were waiting on you. They're like, we can't launch. What time is it for you?
6:05. No, 6:16 now. Yeah, they were supposed to start up about 5-10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
My whole plan was to go and get coffee and then come back, but at the end of the day, I decided to sleep in after I saw that they were delaying the launch. What was it? It was like another 20 minutes or something like that. Because I think originally it was supposed to be like 7:05, or sorry, not 7:05, 6:05 my time, and then they pushed it back to like 7:20 or 6:20 or something like that. I keep quoting everything in Eastern time.
7:20. How many hours is that from now?
Shouldn't be too long. Should be imminently.
Okay.
Yeah. So they said 8 minutes ago, mission control holding the ground for winds. A new T0 will be shared shortly. So uncertain.
Yeah, it's funny. My dad was here yesterday, and then we were speaking about the Peter Beck interview, and like going to the Neutron launch, and then my wife is like soon giving birth to a kid number 4, and she's like, yeah, but you go there, and then it's like 1 to 2 days, and then you come back. And I was like, yeah, but there's like a 95% chance that it's going to be like, something is off, and then they reschedule to the next day, and then they do it again and again, and then she was not so happy anymore.
Yeah, no, it's it is how it goes. I mean, who knows? The whole thing could get scrubbed, right? I mean, but hopefully it's nothing too long. It's why I always try to wait until they kind of start the stream, because you could be getting pushed.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I always think that they would like start the stream
cycle sprints.
I would always think that they start the stream and then they can just keep us entertained, but now that is our job. Somebody's asking if I'm from Finland. No, I'm from Sweden. I mean, I'm very originally from Hungary. Moved to Sweden when I was 18 with the whole family, and yeah.
Let's see. What else is on here, Mr.
Mitch Blakeney? It is live, yes. And where are you from, Mitch?
Big Dick Mitch. Let's see. Let's open up my stream so I can see. But yeah, I'm trying to think. You're 6 hours ahead or 7 hours ahead of me. I always forget.
What's the time for you now?
6:19.
6:13. Yeah, it's 7 hours.
7 hours. Okay. You always try to remember where each place is in Europe. So you're plus 1 hour then from UTC. So you're +1. I'm -5. No, you're +2.
I think it depends on summer and winter time. So I think
that's right.
I think now it's +2.
There you go. Yeah, I was. I actually want to go visit Greenwich. Apparently, like, because in the UK, they have the actual like line of where everything was kind of set by.
Yeah.
So I want to go visit that eventually at some point.
I think I've been there when I was 10 or something.
Yeah, 4:16 on the West Coast. Jeez. Do I sleep in one of those silk hats with a little ball in the end? That's a good question. I don't really know. I don't really know what to say about that one. What time is Beck interview being released today by you guys? It is being released at about 12 hours. About 11 hours, actually. If I remember correctly. Let me double check.
On your video, because you set this premiere, actually, like you can click on it and then it says how much time is left until.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna do. I was when you started saying something, I was like, "Oh my god!" For some reason, I thought you were gonna say you could actually watch the video, and I was gonna be like, "Oh my god, I screwed everybody." That's good. That 10 hours, 5 p.m. So it's not exactly 10 hours. A little more than 10 hours from now. So that'll be good. It was. I obviously listened to the whole thing again last night as I was finishing up. Actually, I got finished up about 5 hours ago with some other things I was doing as well, and luckily, sorry, I thought we were focusing on Rocket Lab's X page, not my entire feed.
But you were saying you listened to it again, yeah?
Yeah, and it's just a really, really good quality questions. Decided to record my intro for my specific part and everything like that, and it was really well done. So I'm really excited for everybody to hop to everyone's channel and really give a good look. I think if you want to watch it in sequence, I guess you would start with your channel, Vince, and then I think you would hop over to Dave's channel. And then
yours,
then mine, and then you would finish on Scott's. But honestly, I think you don't need to watch it in sequence. I think there's no real need to. So I guess as long as people, let me just double check. I think I put everybody's X and everything, and yeah, I did.
It's funny. I asked Scotto, like, how does it feel to have interviewed Sir Peter Beck, and he's like, it hasn't set in yet.
Huh. No, I mean, he I've met some real prima donnas, man, and Peter is not one of them. I mean, he's just a super chill,
super
get down
down
to business. Yeah, let's get to business kind of guy, and really easy to interview, and really transparent, right? Very calm demeanor. It's just a all around, the type of dude that. Anyway, just yeah.
Adam is also, I mean, he's different, obviously. Like, he's not the star engineer of the show, but he's also really, really grounded. And yeah, they're very non-PR. I don't know how to say it. Like, it's not fluff. Like, I was even thinking, like, some of the answers that he gave, it would have been so easy to just say, "Oh yeah, we're going for this," And he's like, no, he's like, I mean, it's easier after the interview to give color on some of the things, but like, for example, on the backlog, like, it would be so easy to pump it and then just miss the numbers, and it's just so real about it.
That was a really good question by you, and I like it. It makes so much sense what he was saying, and it's so true. And I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, I mean, his answer was so upfront, transparent. Yeah, he could have easily just been like, "Oh, don't you wait," and he didn't. I mean, he gave the most clear answer that you could have ever given about that. And, and same thing with everything. Like they were transparent when they didn't necessarily know. They could have easily put on their Silicon Valley hats and been like, "Oh yeah, just you wait and see. We're gonna pump everything up and everything's going to the moon." But at the end of the day,
the Chris Camp hat on.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but yeah. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. I mean, you see so much in the world these days where you're just like, can't you be a little real about some of these things and humane rather than anyway. But yes, they unfortunately they didn't have all the time in the world for us. They only had 45 minutes for us, which is why we combined the interview. But I think actually it ended up probably being a better product because in one queue we didn't collaborate with Dave and them, and there's a few others that got interviews, and it really allowed us to tackle as much ground as we could, because there were a few of us that overlapped in questions, and so it allowed us to either tailor the questions a little bit. So it was really cool in that respect. I think we all wish we had a little bit more time. There was like 2 or 3 more questions that I could have asked.
What I wish. I think it was somehow like there was a lot of changes like up to the last second, because it was like, you and me were going to do an interview, and then Dave was going to do an interview, and then it was like then we were all mixed together in one big interview, and then we had to like collab on the questions. And I just wish that we had like 1 to 2 more days to because it was like so close to the earnings for me that it's like you didn't have time to fully digest the earnings.
I remember. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it was a kind of a whirlwind in that respect, but I think overall,
I think we did really good. I think we did really good. I was impressed with all your guys's, like, not all the questions, but everybody had questions where I was like, damn, that's a really good question. And like, for example, this backlog, I like, because Wall Street, I honestly think that Wall Street doesn't believe them that they can develop Neutron so fast and so under the budget, right? And then sorry, it's not the backlog, it's, I don't even know who asked them this question about like how much they have spent on Neutron so far, and I'm like, how come nobody asked them that question? Because it's so relevant. Because if they are like, we think the budget is 300 million and then we already spent 290 million, then you're like, okay, it's complete BS, right?
Yeah.
But if it's the other way around, then you're like, I'm not gonna spoil the answer, obviously, but
yeah, I think that was a Dave question. Yeah, and I like you said, I don't think I've seen in the earnings call many people ask that, but they did ask it at TD Cohen back in May, and that was right after 1Q, and I think Adam gave a similar response. I think obviously a little bit less, but less spent at that time, because obviously it was what three months ago. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not a very frequently asked question, right? I think the fact that it's not really readily available on the slides, and it's not like a standalone question that happens every single time is pretty surprising. Sorry, I just keep going back and forth.
Yeah, because
we didn't kick off.
Yeah, no, I mean, because it's pretty relevant, right? Like, I mean, if Wall Street doesn't believe them that it will be 300 million and they think it will be 700 million, then it changes the whole picture for the whole company. Then they need to raise equity again, then so and then it's funny that they're not like tracking that, like how much have you, like it is. But I also, it was a Dave question. So it was only after he asked the question, I realized like how relevant that question was,
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, everyone had some really good questions. I think the only other question I think I would have asked, which is more pie in the sky, I would have like made them dig, but we didn't have the time. And it was actually a question that I think I asked in 1Q, but I don't think it was provided in enough detail where I could be like, okay, I get exactly where they're headed, and I still want to know. It's I don't know if it's because they can't say, because it's so speculative and in the future, and there's so many steps and there's so many things that need to happen before then that like they probably couldn't answer this. They might be able to do off stream, but like it being like a public answer, they would probably and that's really like 20 years down the road. What do you foresee? Like what do you think is going on in this industry that you really see yourself filling in? And even some of the stuff that I asked about, I don't want to give away too much, but yeah, like even some of the things that I asked about, like human transport and things like that, the answers I got were rather surprising. And it makes a lot of sense from where they are right now, but it doesn't mean. So anyway, I'll kind of pause there, but it really gave an outline as to, at least for the next 4 to 5 years, what the company's really thinking. And so I think that the next 18 months obviously is very much shaped by Neutron, but I think the following like 36 months is really dependent upon the contracts we get probably in 2025, not only for Neutron, but for Haste and also satellite construction. And then there's so much, like we keep talking about the SDA contracts. There's the SDA contracts to actually build the satellites themselves. And then there's the actual SDA contracts to launch those satellites, which haven't even been awarded at all. And so I'm curious to see how much that would cost. I guess each one would probably be 50 odd million, but you have to think they haven't even awarded, I think, 4 tranches yet of SDA satellites. And so it's kind of difficult to be able to award, like, because each one of them's 18 satellites. So each one of them would be a medium launch vehicle lift. So, so you think about it, it's like, the tranche number 2 that we had won for the satellites is 18 satellites. That alone will be one single lift's worth of satellites, if that makes sense. So, and I'm not exactly sure if maybe it's only 6. I don't know. I'm trying to. I don't know exactly for certain, but regardless, you need to have, I say, probably 50 to 60 satellites before you actually award some sort of like launch contract, if that makes sense. And that's kind of how my brain is working for that. And so I don't think you'll actually hear any. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you know what? I just realized the other stream that I did, I never exited it. So I'm at the same time on 2 streams, but you're not on the other one. And I guess people are thinking I'm crazy. I'm speaking to a ghost or something. So I have to quickly close that stream and tell everybody to.
Well, I know you're crazy, but that's a different story for a different day. But yeah, interesting. Okay, interesting thoughts. Yeah, I'm not 100% certain as to. Yeah. How do you value rocket ship? Yeah, Palantir, shout out.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because like if they I completely understand why they don't go so much into the future, because look at what happened to ASTS, like the stock, right? And you can have that motion also in reverse. So for example, if that they would say that we're going to build an X satellite that we need like 10,000 of them in the sky, and all of them, and then we can calculate that, okay, that's like 2 billion to build before they get revenue, and then it's like a mega dilution event. Then I think that it will like ruin the stock if they say anything.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So I think it's very prudent that they and I honestly think that they themselves are evaluating. Like, I don't think necessarily that they themselves like have a clear answer on what it is.
Yeah, with respect to them getting bought out, I mean, I think so. Nobody has full control of Rocket Lab, but I think that there's enough of top 5 sort of ownership in the organization that hopefully they recognize the long-term potential of the company and they wouldn't sell it too early. But that is something that we speculate, right? And I'm trying to remember who it was. Did we actually discuss it per se in the interview? I don't think we did, but what we basically have been realizing is, like, if you think the Global Star contract, those are Apple satellites, right? At the end of the day, Apple hired Global Star as their contractor to be able to fulfill that, and then Global Star hired MDA, and then MDA subcontracted out to Rocket Lab to be able to provide pretty much the buses of what eventually came the Global Star satellites. And so, if you think that there's value in like a Google or an Apple acquiring Rocket Lab to be able to get satellites up into space, because they don't currently have that current capability. I was actually the Sachin conversation that I had where he was talking, and it's actually the most recent one. So shout out to Sachin when we actually just released that piece. It's like a 30-minute discussion I had with Sachin about what's necessary and what's coming with respect to satellites. So yeah, just learned that Apple's in the space game.
That was so funny on Cashflow Chronicles, when you and Chris were talking about Rocket Lab, and then he's like, "What? They're making satellites for Apple? You never told me, never said this to me." And then he was like, "And what? You interviewed the CEO of a public company? Like, you never said this to me."
Yeah, I mean, I don't hide much, right? I guess I don't boast a lot either. So I guess, and I'm not alive as much, right? So like, if I do something, I guess I don't talk about it for weeks. Like I mean, this is no hit on anybody, but it's like I'm not live every day like Amit, right? Like Amit will be able to be like, oh, if you guys remember, the Vlad interview with Robinhood, etc. So it's like I guess sometimes I post things, but not everyone's present on social media every day. So I guess if I do something, and you don't continue to post about it, I guess you miss it. But it also was on your channel. So I didn't fully steal the interview. I basically talked about my favorite parts of the interview, and then like what it was like to interview Peter, and I answered a lot of like the things that I realized from the interview, and I think I stole bits and pieces of it, but I don't think I actually took the whole entire video and posted it. And yeah, because I wanted to make sure that people went to your channel and saw it as well. So, but yeah, I don't know.
Anyways, I'm happy that Chris is at least looking into Rocket Lab, but I don't know if it's his type of stock, because he likes to trade, like has this obvious, like there's going to be an upswing here, and I don't know if you can time the upswing on Rocket Lab.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, these sorts of investments are for everybody, right? It can be an opportunity for folks to get excited on a certain type of investment, but some people just aren't fans of companies like this that aren't profitable as of yet, and they immediately dive into how much money is it making and what's the valuation, and it's like, well, you can't really do that with this kind of company, right? You kind of have to look. It's hard to value a company that's negative earnings and recognize the potential of why it's negative earnings, right? And I think a lot of times people forget that SpaceX, just like 5-6 years ago, was hemorrhaging cash. And people also think about the same about Tesla, right? They're like, but Tesla, they're destroying GM, and it's like, just 5 years ago they weren't, right? Just 5 years ago they weren't even profitable. It wasn't really until 2018 where they actually started to demonstrate that they could break
19,
even.
I think.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of people like forget that, and same thing with Palantir, right? I mean, that's why when I was always looking at Palantir, I was looking at all the numbers, and I always was going to buy the company, but what caused me to buy more was looking at the financials and being like, these guys, their margins are going in the right direction. They aren't getting out of control with their operating expenditures, and you can kind of track these things and be like, these guys will be profitable and they'll be able to make X by the time they hit some sort of revenue goal. And you're like, oh crap, that's a lot of money. It's way more than it will be. And that's the same exact thing that I see for Rocket Lab. It's like, if they hit the cadence that they think they're going to hit at the margins that they think they're going to hit, you're massively undervaluing the company, because it's really not too far from now with Neutron up and running that you'll be seeing revenues of $2 billion. We're obviously $1.6 billion away from that in fiscal year 24, but you start getting some some Neutron launches, you start getting some more HASTE launches, you start getting a lot of these other revenue streams coming. And next thing you know, you have revenue of $2 billion at a 30%, 40% gross margin. Net margins being 15 to 20%. Next thing you know, you throw a decent multiple on the company and you're like, oh shit, this thing is worth a pretty good chunk of change. Anyway, let's see what these folks have to say. Great interview. RKLB has many upswings. To your point, Tesla and Palantir had clear paths to profits. How does this company not? Have you looked at it? Maybe you haven't. Big OEMs lose on any vehicle inflection point. On and new back. I think it's funny. People forget that like Tesla and everybody else had to raise money too. Like every company has to raise money. They act like Tesla was some holier than thou company.
But it was like he was asking if they need to raise capital until profits, and probably not. But the chance is non-zero that they will raise again. But I think that they can make it to profitability.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Starship, I think, and that's part of the reason why I think that SpaceX doesn't go public, I think, is because they're able to outspend it. I think if you're right, Chris, I think if they were, a lot of people would question the reason why they're doing Starship at all, because they're creating a total addressable market, right? And when you have a company that's creating a total addressable market, a lot of times it gets slaughtered because it could go either way, right? But yeah, they're spending all the money that they're making on Starlink, you know what I mean, to be able to put that right back into Starship. And it's not to say that Starship won't be used for inner Earth transport, right? Moving things from one place to the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good statement. Tesla is a vaporware company. If it was valued as a car company, its share price would be divided by 10.
I don't think by 10, but it would be. I think it would be like 60 or something, like the stock.
I think 10 actually is an appropriate number. Let me pull up my most recent Seeking Alpha article. The valuation for it. Let me just double check. Did my other article get published? No, it did not. Okay, that's fine. Google.
Matt, I just want to say that I probably leave in 17 minutes because it's I need to be with my family a little bit, and there's like no news about this launch.
Not a worry, my friend. Yeah, take your time. So yeah, the current trailing 12-month for Tesla at the time of writing this is I think when it was still above north of 200. I don't know if it went back above $200 a share. Was $663 billion market cap. The net income for the trailing 12 months was $12 billion. That leaves a trailing 12-month price to earnings ratio of 54. If you compare that 54 price to earnings ratio to something like, let's just go with GM and see where they're at right now. It's probably in the 5 to 6 range.
But aren't they there because they're dying? Like, I think that's also like not a correct number.
They're at 4 to 5 because it's auto is a cyclical business, and it's doing rather well right now. So generally, it climbs to 10 when there's a large sell-off in vehicles and nobody's buying. But actually, because of the market's actually doing rather well from a buying perspective, there has been some pullback on it, but generally speaking, auto always kind of hangs out between, I would say, 6 and 10 is kind of the sweet spot. Wow. for auto.
That's super.
Which is why like people are always just like Tesla's overvalued, right?
I think SoFi is going through something similar, no? That like if you value it only as a bank, then the valuation is.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit like that. Best vaporware company going. We'll see if Full Self Driving is vaporware at the end of the year. Yeah, been hearing about Full Self Driving for a while. Don't think it's gonna happen till Thursday. Oh, you mean the launch? Maybe. Let's see. Let me hit
I
refresh
mean,
here.
no news yet since 36 minutes.
Yeah, might give me the opportunity to charge my headset, get a coffee, a bagel somewhere, come back.
You can leave the stream on. That shows
Yeah,
your empty seat.
it just sees it like spinning. Uh,
Yeah, like Joe Scott with the
uh,
music.
but yeah. Well, anyway, how are you feeling? You feeling any better or not so much?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know about you. Usually, when I get a cold, it's like at first, like I get super tired in the head, and then when you feel well, like then the nose really starts running.
Ah, very
So
good.
now I'm in that phase that the nose is like running like crazy, but I'm feeling
I don't
okay.
know what it is, man. I don't know if it's just because I am a big baby. I've always been a big baby, but I feel like when I used to be sick when I was younger, I just power through it. I didn't have any problems. Now when I'm sick, like I'm like the worst person on earth. Like I
You
I'm
have a
so
man cold.
grumpy. Yeah, I'm like yeah, it's awful. This person's asking, am I invested in SoFi? I am actually invested in SoFi. So when I went to Mexico with Tevis in February, he was like, Matt, what's 20 grand? And I was like, you're right, Tevis. So I invested 20 grand into SoFi. It's the most expensive damn trip I've ever taken because no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I've been holding it since 8 something. And the thing that bothers me the most is I stood out of my conviction, which was I had a feeling that over the next coming days, I didn't say no to SoFi, but I said with where it's at right now, it was like I don't want to say a local high, but it was in a part where because stocks always move in ups and downs, right? And then my thought process was like, I want to wait till $7.85. I was like, that makes sense to me. I know it's going to get there. And
Why not write a put?
well, at the time, he just kept bugging the crap out of me. No offense to Tevis, but he just wanted me to buy. Right? He was like, "What's the difference between 8 something and 785?" And I was like, I don't need them. I don't need the stock. Right? It's like an auxiliary position. I don't really care too much for it. I was like, I'd rather probably put that money into RKLB or Palantir. But so anyway, I was like, you know what? I was like, instead of him bugging me all the time, I was like, I'll buy it at $8.15 or whatever it was, $8.10. I forget.
Did you
But
make him buy Rocket Lab?
that's the problem. Is like he didn't end up buying any Rocklet, but I did tell the guy this resort was great. It was what was it, man? It was some place in Playa del Carmen, Riviera Maya area, and I'm trying to remember what the name of it was, but it was great. If I remember, I'll let you guys know. But it was great. The cabana for the pool's right there. The pool's right there. We just wake up every morning, we pay the guy $20, whatever it was for the cabana for the day. I'd give the guy $10-15 that was coming to run us drinks. He never let me not have a drink in my hand or two. And like every time he'd like look over, if I didn't have a drink in my hand, he'd bring another one over. So that was money well spent. And then had the DJ right there, and then literally like 15 feet away, it was probably more than that. It was like 25 feet, 30 feet away. There was like the little lunch bar. So like Tavis and I would get up 8, 9. No, it wasn't 8 or 9. It was like 9 or 10. We'd get some coffee. We'd make our way over to the pool. We'd rent the cabana out. We'd lay there, look at the market open, do some nonsense, just hang out, take a little siesta underneath the cabana, sit out by the pool for a sec, make sure we have our drinks, and then we would make our way over to the lunch area. And the lunch area, I'd always try to converse with some of the other guests that were at the hotel. this other guy was like, "What do you guys do?" And we were just like, "Oh, he works in tech, I work in oil and gas, but we're here just hanging out, and we're kind of talking about stocks and stuff like that. We're kind of like business associates or whatever, if you call us that." And he was like, "Oh, you early? Like, what's the stock play?" And we're both like, "Oh, Jesus! Like, we don't want to give some random guy to resort, and he's gonna like invest his life savings, and it goes to zero, right?" But then again, this is what we do on YouTube all the time. So anyway, I was like, if you're really into speculative stuff, my stock was RKLB at the time, and Tevis was still boasting SoFi. So anyway, hey, I don't know if this was me or you, but
no,
new
it's
member.
you.
Thank you for the new membership. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's awesome. I always appreciate a new member. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's also a member with me. He's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to get him to meet him more. Is he on X or not so much?
Actually, don't know.
Yeah, we'd have to.
But a lot on YouTube, I think.
Just don't die on me, man. I need a co-host to keep RKLB Weekly going.
It's just you see, it's a sky full of SARS with a body full of SARS. Like, I actually don't know if I have COVID or not, but I thought it was good.
Man. Do I own any new? I don't. Yeah, mine's cheaper. Is it really? Why is mine so cheap? I need to raise my prices. Maybe it's in euros. You're charging everyone in euros and making everyone.
No. I charge everyone in dollars. I don't know. I have different. I have different levels. I don't know how. What's your? Mine is.
I don't remember.
5.
Yeah,
I think I have like a $5, a $15, and a $25.
Let me see.
Is yours like $3? They're gonna abandon me now and be your member because yours is cheaper.
Oh, I can give gifts for my own channel.
What kind of gifts?
Badass. For free? Okay. Apparently, you can give your own gifts. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's kind of cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, do that for yourself too.
Hey, yeah, thanks. It says here that you're $2.99 for the channel membership.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. I try to make it cheap. Yeah,
I have $4.99.
Yeah, well, I think you do a little bit more like membership content and stuff. I'm more so just like, I'm poor, give me money. So, but that's the thing is, I always, no matter what, as much as I would love to have some of this membership money always pay for bills and stuff like that, I have never, every time I've gotten a single dollar from YouTube, I always put it back into my portfolio. Every single time.
That's good.
That's kind of cool. Had I known that, man, I probably would have like, a bunch of members. That's kind of cool. I have to make sure I do that every month to try to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to grow the membership so that it becomes. I mean, it's weird because like I don't do YouTube for the money, but I don't know, like it is. Like I mean, as you said, like it's like you. I don't know how to say it nicely, but like you can't spend like 30 hours a week on something and then somehow like have zero income from it, So it's like I'm trying to somehow like recoup the and then it's very nice that there is members and you see that
the thing I do YouTube for really is to meet the friendships, and I will say I've leveled up over time in terms of the quality of the people that I've met. So I mean, you really kind of when you're out there first starting, maybe you stumbled into a really good community of folks, but I've been doing this since 2017, and the people I've met along the way, it's not that they're bad, it's just they might have different goals than you. And so now I feel like I've met people that have very similar-ish goals. Like Chris has similar goals. And I met a lot of people early on that really just wanted to kind of get to like the high 6-figure range. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like the high 6-figure range is really great. My buddy's like, are you sleeping in? It's 7:15. Well, I guess he does have 2 kids. So I guess you probably can't sleep in beyond 7 o'clock yourself. Vince, with the 18 kids that you have, and you probably have 4 more on the way. But yeah, just thinking about it. Yeah, I don't know what I was saying before that, but
Like what you do YouTube for?
oh yeah. It's mostly
You,
it was
you were
originally to keep track of myself, and then I came
you were
into this
saying that
management.
I'm the most quality friend that you have found on YouTube,
Exactly
and it took you since 2017 all the way to
to
2024 to find
to
me.
to find you.
That's what you were saying.
Yeah,
No, it's the same. It's like it's so surprising too, because I mean you do feel like you become friends, even though we never met and you live like on the other side of the planet.
yeah.
And I mean I learned a lot from you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, soon
Yeah,
enough. Hopefully, I'll be able to make it over there. I know. I still have to plan out what I'm doing when I'm over an undisclosed European location at the end of September. So yeah, maybe it would be nice to go to Denmark and eventually Sweden as well, because those will be two places I've never been.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Vince
trying to
needs
think.
another hobby. No, I'm actually looking at another hobby. It's beekeeping with my
Are you
daughter.
really?
Yeah. It's very interesting. So I think next spring we're gonna start with a little bit of bees, and maybe I will make my own honey.
Oh man, this Fool's Gold switching to snooze for the pancakes. Mobile
Going to
viewing, man.
snooze.
Talk about a do a Norwegian cruise with Chris. There you go. Oh man. Yeah, if I had some pancakes right now, I'd definitely go back to sleep because I'm only running on 3 hours of sleep.
Wow, that's rough. How did you even manage to get up?
You called me. I think that was probably you called me on X.
On Twitter, yeah.
Otherwise I probably would have fallen right back to sleep. I
Somebody
woke
can
up the
totally.
first alarm. Yeah, the first alarm. I woke up and I was wide awake, and then I saw that they delayed it, and then I was like, "Oh, I can snooze another 20 minutes." And then after I hit the snooze button, I just did not wake up.
Apparently, I give off
Beekeeper vibes.
beekeeping vibes. The Jason Statham. I like that. I'm getting bold. Need to just buff up a little bit in the gym, and then.
Jesus. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I don't want to hold you here if these guys aren't gonna
Yeah, I don't
hang
know what
out.
happened to our launch. This is what I'm afraid is going to happen with Neutron. I closed my dad to want to go to the Neutron launch in Virginia, but I'm like, it might be that we fly there. I think we could get Matt. I think we could get like a tour, maybe an interview with Beck, like an actual personal interview.
Maybe.
But the actual launch is if it's like this, then I might miss it, and then I have to go back, and that would suck.
Yeah, that would put a damper on things, wouldn't it? But I don't know. This is the thing I don't know, and this is something I should research. Is like I feel like every launch pad has its like preferred window of launch cadence, and I think the reason why they choose Florida is I feel like that Florida probably has one of the more consistent climates in the United States.
Yeah.
And that's probably why they launch out of Florida. That, and obviously you have the ocean directly to the east of it. So obviously if you're launching, then you have that wide open ocean. You don't have to worry about going over any land other than maybe Bermuda or the Bahamas, depending on where you are in Florida. So I don't know. I'd like to know what like the premier launch window is for Virginia and also New Zealand, because New Zealand is it's quite down there, right? It's not really close to the equator. So at least if my geography helps me at all, which my geography is awful. So I'll just be point blank. Sometimes I wonder how I even get to work in the morning. But yeah, I'm curious if there's like a preferred window, because it seems like sometimes what.
This comment by Johnny Mac.
Yeah, man. If you wanna offset some of the real estate money that you guys are making, you can do that. You can
this-
all the losses that you have from Vincey's honey. You know.
in the real estate business, it's very tough. It's very tough, and with this rate environment and everything. So this is also why I haven't been able to fill up the margin on my account. I'm like trying not to go bankrupt with the real estate company. That's what I'm doing, and then survive for better times.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'll have to. Yeah,
and you know, it's so tough because, like, how do you call it? Like, you know, when the interest rates went up so much, it's not this. I don't know. It's not the same as I hear in the US, but here, like, the market froze. You know, and then it's like you're selling a product. Like, imagine having a restaurant in COVID times. You know, when everybody's at home, like they're not allowed to be outside, and then it's like you have your employees, you have your rent, you have everything, but you're like, it's impossible for you to make any business because there's just no buyers. You know, and it's like, not that happened, like that happened to restaurants in COVID, and now I feel that it happened to us in the real estate business, that we like can't start new projects because, you know, it's like there's no buyers for them, and then the ones that we are finishing, you have to like just somehow sell them for any cost to like get in money. And I've never seen anything like this. And then it's like, how do you prepare for such a downturn, you know, when you're like, it's not that you have less traffic, it's like your traffic disappears. And I'm like, I swore to myself that I will have multiple companies, and then, you know, like if one company completely stops, there is at least two others that are, you know, like still going, and then you can weather such periods.
Yeah, I don't know. I try to think about it as well, because my two Airbnbs are very cyclical, and so I'm like trying to figure out what's the best way, because it'll be very much cash heavy, cash influx in the summertime. But on the one I have with my sister, we're trying to do a lot more off-site sort of deals with people, and so that might mean we get a lot of kind of people renting and like putting down payments on for May through August, starting in like 1Q, 2Q. And so I'm trying to think of like a prudent way to put money into like a savings account to make a little bit extra. Because you think about it, it's like that's what Airbnb does, right? Airbnb, they just literally hold money. And yes, they have the platform generation fees and stuff like that. So they make a lot of money off that. But they also the shepherds of the cash. And so if you think about it, that's how they make a lot of their money, is they take a lot of free cash in the first and second quarter. And then throughout the second and third quarter, they outflow a lot of that cash. But a lot of money that they make is off of actually interest income, which I think is pretty interesting, because you think about it, they're able to get a lot of the payment up front. And then hold it in bank accounts and get interest from that. And then really only pay out the hosts, as you know, 2 days after check-in. So I'm wondering how I could best utilize a similar strategy to my advantage while still maintaining money for mortgages.
But if you average out your Airbnb like through the year, like, isn't it still like quite profitable? Or
yes. I mean, so far, and the second one that we just bought in May is looking like it's going to be an absolute monster. We've done really well. My sister did a really good job, and we didn't even get it fully listed until the last weekend in June. And I think we're probably going to come out of the summer making about 45,000. So I think my goal was to end October timeframe with about $20,000 to $25,000 in the bank. And obviously, you know, with electricity and paying our maid, our house cleaner and everything, between guests, we were trying to have like a $4,500 to $5,000 run rate inclusive of the mortgage. So yeah, for us to come out in the end of October with about 20 to 25,000 means that we're doing rather well. And so the hope would be is that next year, by the time you get there, I basically calculated you need 25,000 to kind of get you to summer with a little bit of a buffer, because you will still get rentals, you know, throughout the winter time. It's just not as prolific because it's off season.
Yeah.
So, but there's still like festivals and other things that people rent for the weekend, and the weekends will still get you, you know, a couple $100, as you know, and all that money just goes right to the mortgage. But you're really just in cash conservation mode in the off season. But yeah, the hope is that, you know, last year we didn't have to pay out of pocket for the one that I bought in 2022, and then it doesn't look like we'll have to pay out of pocket at all. We paid a little bit. That's the one thing I will say is we paid out of pocket for small things early on. Like we were paying out electric out of our own pocket and stuff like that until we started getting some of the cash in the door. But ever since then, it's been really on the actual business itself to make all the payments. And I'm trying to think. The refinancing will really help. Even like the one house we have is like 30 with mortgage insurance and everything. Our payments like $3,100 a month, but we were looking at just refinancing down to like 5.5, and that saves us about $500-600 a month because we also just in the interest payments, and then we also get rid of the private mortgage insurance because the house has appreciated so much in value that when we refinance, they'll be like, oh shit, you guys have actually gained a lot of equity. It's enough equity where I've thought about pulling it out, and it gets us about, it's increased a lot in equity. It's almost like $100,000 of equity it's gained in the last 24 months. I want to pull it out for an 80% loan to value, because that'll get us like 40 grand in our pocket. And then use that to buy, like put down in another rental. But my buddy doesn't want to do that. So, you know, my thought process is, and I kind of hear him, like I've bought 3 houses in the last 18 months. I don't know if I want to buy another one in 2025. You know, I should, right? You know, as you know, you should always be investing, but I just don't know if I could swing it financially. It'll be tough.
Yeah. Awesome, man. I think I'm going to go and be with the family. I don't know what happened to this launch. It was in the end just we just chit-chatted for an hour.
Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, hopefully we can get some. Probably gonna go get a coffee and a light breakfast, and then take a siesta, and then maybe I'll check back in a couple hours. If they launch it while I take a nap, then it is what it is. But it was nice to catch up with you in the meantime.
So you leave the stream on for the others?
I'm probably going to answer these questions and then shut it down. But do you think I should leave it on?
Yeah, because then when they launch, then you don't have to like redo a new stream.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe I'll just hide my camera and leave it on the RKLB stream, and it'll play out if it plays out, and if it doesn't, then
you could leave a comment where you highlight that, like, I went to get a coffee, I'll be back, and
yeah, that's a good point.
People know. Cool, man. Thank you so much. I'll see you around.
You're the man. Yep. All right, so I'm gonna answer a few of these questions. I guess I went off on a tangent about Airbnbs, and people had some questions. So yeah, Vince said his price target's 8. I'm sorry, I probably should have let him talk, because I'm sure he had some good thoughts. Can you search your specific Airbnbs, Matt? Yeah, I mean, my Airbnbs are public. I just don't want to do that on stream because, you know, for some reason there are some people out there that want my demise, believe it or not. Yeah, you know, if you ask me in DMs and stuff, maybe I'll give it to you, but I don't want it to be public, because then people can back the address, and then, you know, can mess with the house and stuff like that. It's one thing if people, you know, book it, you know, because then I have their information and stuff like that, but just getting out the address freely. You know, I'm not saying that's what you're asking, but people can take the pictures, they could backlog it and put it into Google, all that sort of stuff. And I've had people in the past where I've given like a picture of the house, and then they've backlogged it to Airbnb, and they've been able to take that picture and then backlog it to Zillow, and then they gave it out the address. And I'm like, why are you giving out the address? They're like, oh, this is such and such New Jersey. And you're like, like what? Like I'm just trying to help people like with Airbnbs, and you're like giving out my public address. Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense. They're like, I don't understand how that's a problem. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't understand it's a problem? Like, do you want to give out your address? Like, you know what I mean? So I'm not saying that's what you're trying to do. I'm just, if you're really curious, I can give you the link off camera. Can you make the Airbnbs all inclusive? Add a cabana, butler service, you could kill it. I've so they're not directly next to the beach, but yeah, I've thought about, in the future, because right now it's kind of hands off, right? We have a cleaning company, we have a landscaping company, etc. There is some final steps that I would love to kind of do and make sure that like everything is spotless, because we've had people show up in the past and be like, cleaning hasn't been here yet, and unfortunately they're like misscheduled, and we're kind of going through some issues with that right now. And then also, just some small things like cleaning doesn't do, like check the grill and the propane, and so sometimes it's like, oh, like you'll end up giving somebody like $25 off so they can go get propane, stuff like that. All that sort of stuff. And so if I had the opportunity to do a little bit more checks, put a nice little bottle of wine in there for them, a little bit of hors d'oeuvres, stuff like that could really like make it a step up. Because right now it's like a nice average beach house that you would be able to rent, but I'd want to take that next step up, right? I'm not talking uber luxury, I'm not talking 800 thread count Egyptian cotton. I mean, the house would need some serious renovations for something like that. I just don't think the neighborhood and that environment really warrants it. But I could see a step up where people would really appreciate that extra step of, an extra nice little bottle of wine, and maybe some local beers, and that doesn't cost me much, but it gets me return customers. And the thing about return customers is if you have people book, a long time in advance, that means generally speaking, the demand for your property goes up. And if you have less open and available dates, you can generally charge more for those dates. So because it's like, oh, people really like this house, right? Like it's got really good ratings and it's already booked. So something must obviously be going well here, right? And people leave good reviews and people read reviews. So like it helps. Like I'm able to raise prices over time, because people will initially what am I saying? People will initially kind of book, and specifically for like months that we were still trying to price find, like May and June. So June initially we had like one flat price of like $350 a day for the whole thing. And then we realized the beginning of June wasn't really getting booked. And so you actually probably want to have it closer to 300, but towards the end of the month, you probably want to have it closer to 400. But by the time you get to July and August for our first property, you want to have it July, August, you want to have it at 475. I think we started at 450, and then the weekends were 500 or something like that. And now we've moved it to like 475 and 525 for the weekends. But yeah, like by the time you get to late June, everybody's off from school. People are starting to go down to the beach, because really the season opens soft launch Memorial Day, but people are generally speaking still in school in May, throughout the majority of May, unless you're in college. So yeah, anyway, we've kind of got it down to a science, but we're still working. In our region, we have the problem that real estate is incredibly expensive, costing between 12,000 euros and 15,000 euros per square meter in some communities. That's insane. Because I think a meter is 9 square feet for like 10 square feet, something like that. So that would be the equivalent of 1,200 to 1,500 euros per square foot, which is insane. Because I think our current place gets Zillowed out at about 400, 420. And our other property, which I'm still trying to understand, is 2.5 blocks north. And for some reason, Zillow only wants to give us $250 a square foot. So almost like 50% less, 60%, sorry, 40%, 40 to 50% less than our first property, which is interesting because our first property is about 1,300 square feet. I don't remember. It's either like 1,200 or 1,400. I don't remember. But if you look on Zillow, they say it hovers around 495 to 510 as the estimate, and that's also what I'm kind of seeing is like for price per square foot is kind of getting the 400 to 450 range, and plus it's an active Airbnb that's generating good money. So if somebody were able to get it at a reasonable interest rate, 20% down payment, they'd be able to print money on our house, just like we're doing really well. The only problem is we just wish we had a little bit better of an interest rate, and we only put down 10% initially. So if we had put down 20%, we'd be making a little bit more money. It's not to say that we're not doing well. We're doing really well. It's just all the other costs as well associated with running a business. But yeah, with 12,000 euros, 15,000 euros per square meter, that's just tough. That's really tough. Only accessible to very wealthy individuals who can afford a property in a beautiful area. Yeah, it's Stockholm, maybe. Yeah, South Tyrol. I don't know where that is. Stage 2 is mostly built there. Apparently, 80% of New Zealand's carbon composite industry is now employed by RKLB. Makes sense. I'm going to find them and devote my life to becoming a ghost of your Airbnbs. Just like walk around with like chains and a lantern, scaring the crap out of my Airbnb guests. Who are the people, Matt? Give me names. I think I blocked the majority of them, and they found me. They messaged me on a different account. And they're like, "Why'd you block me?" And I'm like, "Because you're giving out my public information." And that's when they started messaging me like, "I don't understand why you're upset." So, yeah, they're crazy people. They just don't have like, I don't know, lack of, which is kind of funny because like when people were like, "Oh, what street was your house on in what city?" And it's like, do you want my mother's maiden name and social security number as well? Like, well, what else do you want from me? Like, how open do I have to be on this platform? And then people still say I'm making up numbers. It's like as if I have, I work a full-time job and I'm doing as much as I can on YouTube as I have all this time to Bernie Madoff my way to show you guys that I only have like $2 million. You know what I mean? Like if I wanted to Bernie Madoff my way on YouTube, I would say I have like 10 million bucks or something that's like absolutely, like, oh my God, I got to follow this guy. He's got 10 million. It's like, no, I'm not going to Bernie Madoff my way to show you, like, you know what I mean? Like it's so silly, the thoughts that some people have. We have an Airbnb, which we do pretty well, but we get crushed on charges. The charges are tough, man. I mean, 13 to 14% is what we've kind of seen. And, people really appreciate if you could figure out a way on YouTube, or not on YouTube, Facebook, what we've been able to do so far that we weren't able to do very well successfully on our first house, but have been very successful this year on the second house that we bought in May is, and this requires a little bit of trust. There's a local Facebook group specifically for the town that I kind of grew up in. And a lot of the town that I grew up in southeastern Pennsylvania goes to the beach, fist bump like champ, Jersey Shore, whatever. They have like a Facebook group of like people in that area that we grew up in that rent beach houses for the summer, not the whole summer, but at least like weekly, whatever. And so for that, there's that group. And so we connected into that group and sorry, I just have sleep in my eye. Connected into that group and my sister did a phenomenal job advertising, and we got like 5 or 6 off platforms. And the thing that's nice about off platform is because you're saving them that service fee, you can kind of charge them a little bit more because you are taking on more risk, right? Keep in mind, and you can charge them a security deposit. So we charge a $200 security deposit just to like get it down. Then within 14 days, we expect the first half of the payment and stuff like that. And we have a whole contract listed up and to try to save us, and we're covered under insurance and all that stuff. So, but there's always incidentals, right? So, things like that. But so far this summer, we did rather well. But that's kind of the nice thing is you can get cash up front, right? Versus like Airbnb, people book and then you don't actually get any cash until they check in. So it's kind of nice because then you actually kind of operate more like Airbnb, where you're accepting that cash 14 days after the booking and holding on that cash. So you can actually pay bills with that, if you really wanted to. Um, Granted, you should have some cash in case they cancel, because we give them up to 14 days or something to cancel. And within 14 days, we keep half the deposit, or basically half of what they had basically given us. So as good faith, right? I mean, I think it's comparable if you do the same thing on Airbnb, for at least what we do. But anyway, yeah, the charges are just they're there, and really it makes something that you think you're like, oh well, we're getting a decent amount, and then you start seeing you get the extra charges for taxes, and then you have that on top. It ends up being like 25-30% more for these people. And so booking off platform, we generally take advantage of that a little bit. We say, and this might seem a little scammy, but you are taking additional risk being off platform, right? Because people can lie on their Facebooks and stuff like that. Like, you can do a little bit of research, right? And you can get their IDs and stuff like that. And if things match up, then you feel a little bit more comfortable. And once you get their checks and everything like that, and it doesn't bounce, it goes through, you feel a little bit more comfortable. And we're charging good money, at least, and we're doing weekly rentals in the second house, and that makes it a little bit easier because you can get people that can scavenge up like $1,500 to $2,000 between like 10 people, and have a good, but like it's a little bit harder for people to scavenge up 4,500 to $6,000 to rent a place for a week. And so because that ends up being, even if you split it up and you have 10 people there, it's $500 to $600 a person. So it's a little bit more difficult to do, versus the other one, it's $200 a person, maybe a little bit less for 2 to 3 days at a nice beach house. So that's a different story that we're going to try to do for the first house that we bought, is more weekly rentals for the summer. Last year and the year before, 23, and this year we've only kind of done 2-day minimums. But I think for the summertime, we're going to try to do the weeklies. But doing off platform, I think, has been really good, because if you're able to save them a good chunk of change, you can kind of come up on your price. So even though your cost per day might have been, let's just say, $500 a day, you can come up a little bit because they're paying $500 a day and then 30% on top of it for taxes and Airbnb fees. Well, you could charge, $550 a day and still give them a massive discount. So there's that little piece. Enjoying the real estate talk. While we all love RKLB, a lot of us are here because we love investing in finance. So hearing your personal story commentary is great. I really appreciate that. I try my best. The real estate thing is new for me, so I would love to continue. And it's something I envision, like, even with RKLB earnings, my thought process with my one buddy who I owned the first house with, is, I'd love to buy more houses. I think it's a lot of fun. As long as the only headache is the small little things that you have to worry about with like cleaners and stuff like that, where they don't show up and stuff like that, which is a little bit of angering. But that's the piece that I would love to kind of get more involved with, is kind of move to Pennsylvania, New Jersey area, and be able to take care of those properties. Like, it would be great if the only thing I had to worry about is checking on the market, and then by noonish every day, checking on the properties, make sure that everything was cleaned up, do a little bit of work here and there, make sure that everything's all right, call the landscaper if I need to get over there because the grass is getting a little bit long at such and such a property. Just do some quality checks, because like there's wear and tear on the houses. You have a bunch of people coming in and out, using up the bathrooms and stuff like that. So things get wear and teared on. Little scuffs here and there. Would you be able to wipe them off that you wouldn't be able to do with like a 2-hour cleaning that you pay for? And just overall, like you pay for a cleaning, but especially if you're not there checking in on the property, it's not going to be as good as say, Matt's coming at noon to check on the property, make sure it looks good. Right. And I think that's part of the reason why we have some cleaning problems. So anyway, do they want your demise just because you're doing well? I think that people just don't want happiness for others, right? And I guess it is kind of envious, right? 33 years old, I'm doing okay. There's a lot of people doing way better than me at 33. There's a lot of people doing a lot worse. But I think some people just don't like me. Like, I'm very blunt. I'm very sarcastic at times. I do push people, especially if I think that they're touting bullshit. Um, and so I'll poke them, and some people don't like that, and I instigate in that respect. And if I think somebody's touting out bullshit and they're faking it till they make it, I'm not afraid to kind of hold their feet to the fire. And I think if that not necessarily the people on X that were giving me a hard time, but I think with other content creators, there's some that I get along with really well because they're just trying their best and they're not trying to be someone they're not. But I've also seen the right through some people where I'm like, dude, like, who are you trying to fool, right? And I think there's more of them on YouTube, and I try to play nice with some of them because but there's a lot of people that I see right through. And I think you could probably tell by the people I actually collaborate with, um, who I actually believe in and trust. Um, and I'm not afraid to, call people out on bullshit, and I think that scares people as well. Cause a lot of people are like, oh, let's play nice for the community. It's like, I don't want you to scam the community or like lie to the community. So the community, yeah, that's my number one thing is making sure everybody learns and does well and prospers. That's the only reason why I do YouTube. Um, I'm not up here waking up at 6 a.m., really for myself. I'm really doing it for, building and that area so I could be that shepherd to the modern and retail investor. And luckily that's given me places to sit with Vince, and Vince was kind enough to invite me to talk to Peter. Like that's the sort of stuff that I would love to do, is talk more to and help, and become like an act I don't want to say active investor, but maybe be more of an active person within each investing community of the companies that I want to be involved in. um and because you have these people, and this is going to sound like I'm talking about like Amit and Tevis, and it's not who I mean. There's a lot of people on YouTube that don't have anything else to do. They've tried their way, it doesn't work, and so what they do is they use YouTube as an avenue, and so they'll do anything they can do to kick and scream and try to make money on YouTube because it's the best thing that they have. And that's not Amit. Like Amit is actually killing it. And then, so when I say that, like when I say like full time, I'm not talking about people that I collaborate with, but there's people I've collaborated with in the past that are just complete clowns. And unfortunately, like, I'm not saying anybody's perfect, right? But, and I'm not perfect by any means, but like there's a reason why they're on YouTube and not working a 9 to 5, because YouTube can let anybody on, and 9 to 5s have a bullshit filter, and I have a bullshit filter as well. So, so anyway, that might be a little bit too in depth with it, but in terms of who are these people that want my demise, but that may give you a little bit. Yeah, not gonna lie, I don't think I'm getting pretty tired. I think I'll go home now. I'm with you. I'm gonna go get a coffee and a breakfast sandwich somewhere, and I'm probably gonna do the same and see if by the time they don't have it up by then, I'll probably shut down the stream. Outside of barbecue, food is way better in the Northeast. 150%. My buddies are like, what's the best thing about Texas? And I'm like, well, the Italian food sucks. Believe it or not, you'd think that because you're in the South, the chicken wings, like the buffalo chicken wings, would be really good. They're not. You can't get a good sandwich to save your life. I mean, there are some places like po' boys can be good. So I've had some good places that are public, but like a quality, just like Italian hoagie Subway sandwich, not Subway from Subway, right? But like just a good old Italian, some good cold cuts, some good bread sandwich. Like you don't get that, and like God forbid you mention hot pepper relish. Like you tell people hot pepper relish, like what are you talking about? I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like hot pepper relish is hot pepper relish. Like that shit's fucking delicious. You got to have it, and it's just not a thing unless you go to Jersey Mike's in down here in the South. Like they don't know what hot pepper relish is, but they love peppers and they love pickles. So I don't understand how they don't have hot pepper relish. So maybe it's just an Italian thing. I want happiness for everyone. I agree. I want happiness for everyone too. So you like me? That's all that matters, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Francisco, Matt, you're good, and we want you to see in your private jet. I don't need a big private jet, man. I just need a jet that gets me to and from Houston to New Jersey for the time being. Mr. Market, you are the best. I appreciate that. You're awesome. Why I don't like Matt? I don't know. South Korea, thank you for visiting all the way from South Korea. It's probably getting pretty late there for you, my man. Yeah, probably getting late for you. Good on you, teaching me heaps. I appreciate that. Hopefully you're learning a little bit. Weather is much better in the Northeast as well. Only a couple bad weeks of summer. A lot of my buddies still live in Pennsylvania, man, and they're like, dude, it's 90 degrees. And I'm like, dude, that's tough. Because I remember back in the day when it was 90 degrees in Pennsylvania, and people would be like, it's dying. You're dying. I hear you. But 90 degrees is pretty normal down here in Houston. Can't believe someone from South Korea is joining. That's awesome. And it's on my stream too. It's not even on Big Dick Vince's. So that's really cool. Weather is much better in the Northeast. Yep. Jersey's Mike's is about as good as it gets in Houston. That's for sure. Hey, Roy, I'm not sure. Actually, let's do some, because they've been opening up some Primo hoagies. And Primo's from the Northeast. I know they've opened one up near me, but I'm curious. There's still just the two. Damn. Okay. Well, keep your eye open in Northeast Houston for Primo, because Primo is delicious. Or if you go visit anywhere with the missus, keep your eye open for Primo. Yeah, Jersey Mike's is about as good as it gets. You call it chili sauce. I feel like chili sauce is different though. Like chili is in the oil, But I guess is hot pepper relish in oil? I thought it was more of like a vinegar-ish. I still don't understand why salsa in restaurants is hot, not cold. I kind of prefer the hot salsa. Curtis, what's going on, my guy? Did you miss anything? Absolutely not. That's why we're streaming the. I should probably do this. That's why we're streaming the Twitter. We're waiting. Winds are picking up. You're New Zealand, man. I've been waiting for ages. This time sucks. Australia, wow. You guys are champions, man. I really appreciate you. And you're both on my stream. That makes me excited. I really appreciate you guys so much. It's so humbling. That's really humbling. People all the way across the world. That's so humbling. 115 degrees heat index here in Panama City the other day, just brutal. Man, I've been meaning to go visit Panama City. Because it was like a big wave of people 5 years ago or so moving to Panama City for retirement. And it's been like, anyway. You lost Jersey Mike's in Australia. That's insane. Yeah, the only thing about Primo, you got to make sure you got some strong jaw muscles because they got some hard bread, which some people like, some people don't. You kind of have to be in the mood for it. I prefer like a softer roll, like an Amorosa, but Primo, they have some pretty hard rolls. 6.2 meters per second at Mejia, so that's pretty intense. Oh, new RKLB tweet. Am I on the right? Ground winds and launch started coming back with inbounds, but there is now a vessel within downrange. Once it is cleared, expected to issue new liftoff. Stand by for more. Perfect. Thank you for letting me know about the tweet. I guess that's interesting. I guess if you're on home or like your home dash, it auto loads. But or maybe it's your notifications that auto load. Because I was just sitting here on the Rocket Lab page, and then I had to hit refresh to see that. Well, that helps. So I might go and grab a coffee. Oh yeah, like a good like chili. Nothing. I actually had Chili's chili. Shout out Dallas. Not too long ago, and it was absolutely phenomenal. Let's go. Oh, Jason's Deli chili. Was it Jason's Deli? Jason's Deli had like a sandwich and stuff the other day, and their Alfredo pasta with chicken was actually phenomenal. So don't sleep on Jason's Deli. I've been here for like 10 years, and I've been sleeping on Jason's Deli. Let's go. Rocket Lab, agreed 100%. A bit of north of Manhattan, can't get a proper cheesesteak for your life. Dude, I'll tell you, people are like, oh, the cheesesteaks here are really good. And like, I'm like, where are you from? Where are you from? Because then they're like, oh, I'm like born and raised in Houston. I'm like, you don't know what a cheesesteak is. It might be good for you, but not good for Matty Moolah over here. Never come across warm or hot salsa before. Interesting. Here from Indianapolis. Welcome from Indianapolis. I still haven't been. I don't know if I've been to Indiana. No. Been to Illinois. Quebec. Welcome to my Canuck friends. Winds are down, but there's a boat in the way. Boat downrange. I never thought I'd be on a boat. It's a big blue watery road. Poseidon, look at me. Oh, I never thought I'd see the day. The big boat coming my way. Believe me when I say. I shouldn't say the next line on stream because it's got profanities and my channel. I try to keep it PG-13. You know, if I were to say the next line, it'd be TVMA, and that's just not. It's not what I'm into. You know, I don't want to be TVMA. I don't want to be mature audiences. I can hear my headset dying. It's a good time to go get a cup of coffee. Twitter updates. Colorado must be like Houston. You can't get a good deli sandwich here if you wanted one. Who's fishing at this time? That's true because it's late. Boat has haunted launch. Is Electron much more sensitive to it? That I don't know. Halted. Let's see. Is there another? Yeah, I can hear my headset dying on me. Investor frame Belgium. The Southeast Asian food in Houston is legit, especially Thai. Maddie like Thai. Might be a good opportunity to go get some Thai. Not right now, but maybe later. Yeah, only meat pies and tomato sauce. Shout out Shapiro's Deli in Indianapolis, maybe. Now that's a sandwich. Update from the lab. My headset just died. Update from the lab of Rocket. Anyone following Dawn Aerospace? What's up with Dawn Aerospace? A bit of a rough weather here on this side of the Tasman Sea. Fried cheese French toast make sandwich with good cheddar. Dip it in egg and fry. Freaking awesome with jalapeno relish, especially of night on the beers. Adam, I'm just trying to put that together. Fried cheese French toast. Fried cheese French toast. So you make French toast and you make a fried cheese French toast. Sandwich of good cheddar, dip it in egg, and fry. Got it. I think I'm there. I'm indeed following Dawn Aerospace. I have to look up this Dawn Aerospace Company. See Mexican food opportunity for Kiwis and Aussie folks. There are some roof Koreans that make good Mexican in Guam. Interesting. Let me hit the refresh here on Rocket Lab. And what I will do is I will say, hey all, Matt is getting a cup of coffee and a breakfast sandwich during the delay. Be back soon. I appreciate you all, especially those that have become a member this morning. It's really helpful to me, and makes me feel good overall, which I guess is the most important thing. Yeah, I can even say thank you. I was afraid to keep going. Demonetization is a thing. And I was afraid they were going to say, this guy sounds exactly like T-Pain. So yes, I'm just going to post this here. We're going to go a little bit of a hiatus. And hopefully I'm going to post this up. And hopefully in the meantime, this doesn't go off. And if it does, then we have it. But I agree with Vince. It's like, as much as I would love to shut down this stream and chit chat, but there's another update. Another update? No, it's the same update. Mr. Market, thank you so much for becoming a member. I much appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Man, you guys are killing it today with the memberships. Makes me feel really good. I'm trying to think. It gives me hope that maybe eventually I could do this more often on a full-time sort of thing. And I would love to give that to people if they actually really wanted it. Now you can add Taylor Ham. There you go. Taylor Ham. I'm going to let this rest. I'm going to go get a coffee at Dutch Bros. I will say, it's not that I dislike the iced coffee at Dutch Bros. It's just I feel like I can't enjoy it. I feel like I chug it. It's delicious. But I feel like I drink it. I just chug it and it's gone. The thing that I like about hot coffee is that coffee makes me sip. And I can enjoy it. So I had this yesterday, which I need to throw this out. I don't know why I still have it here. Because I took out my trash from my office downstairs, and I forgot my trash can downstairs when I was making dinner. The hot coffee makes me sip, and it allows me to enjoy it a little bit more versus I'll be getting out of the parking lot from Dutch Bros and my drink is half gone because I literally just start chugging it. I'm like, what the F, man? What the absolute F? But anyway, I appreciate those of you that have stopped by, the 34 of you in my show. It still says there's 66 folks on Vince's side. So if you guys could please follow me on Matt Money channel, that would be very nice and appreciated. Because I still feel like a lot of people go to Vince's channel. That's fine. I know Vince does a lot more Rocket Lab content than I do. But I also try to put out some content as well. So if you're enjoying the Rocket Lab content on Vince's channel, you like me, you've seen me over the past 40 odd episodes on Rocket Lab Weekly. If you haven't subscribed to me, please go ahead and do so. That would mean a lot to me. And hopefully, let me just do one last refresh to make sure I'm not going to go get a coffee right when we're about to launch this thing. Yeah, 12 minutes ago, update the ground winds. So I'm going to go get a coffee. And I'll hopefully be back within 20 minutes or so. You guys rock. And don't do anything I wouldn't do in the meantime. All right. I'll see you guys in a sec. All right. Hope you guys didn't miss me too much.
20 seconds in.
Let's get us back on track.
Hold procedure is in effect.
Very good. Let me know if you guys can hear this. On here.
You heard it there. That is our go, no go poll complete, and the team is ready to proceed with all remaining launch operations. Our target liftoff time for this mission remains set at 1:18 a.m. local time, now in 10 minutes and 50 seconds and counting.
All right.
Now, let's take a bit more of a look at our customer for today, Capella Space. Today's launch is our 5th launch for Capella Space to build out their Earth imaging constellation with synthetic aperture radar, or SAR satellites. SAR is a form of radar that is used to create 2D images or 3D reconstructions of objects and can do so in all atmospheric conditions, including in cloud-covered areas, both day and night. The payload on board Electron is a single Acadia satellite set to join Capella's constellation in low Earth orbit. The mission is headed to a 615-kilometer orbit today at a 53-degree inclination. Here's more from Capella about their satellites and their mission to provide SAR analytics for their customers.
There's more to discover when we truly see our world. Connection, insight, change, the future. Capella Space is a pioneer of Earth observation. Using unmatched synthetic aperture radar technology, we go deeper to understand our world with every image and innovation. SAR is the future of Earth imaging, data, and monitoring, and it's here today. Unlike passive optical satellites, SAR satellites use radio waves to actively capture high-quality images at any time and in all weather conditions, providing persistent observations like no other technology. But Capella is more than images and satellites. It's an innovation and analytics catalyst, consistently updating and advancing our technology to offer opportunities to see our world like never before. Capella is constantly reinventing what SAR can do.
I saw a company that was taking innovation in space to the next level, being able to bring critical technology, in our case, synthetic aperture radar, the ability to look at the planet in a new way. Capella leads the Earth observation industry in many ways. The diversity of our orbits, the fidelity and quality of our data, and the ability to do direct tasking of our satellites and deliver that information directly to the user.
As the first company to use a fully automated satellite tasking platform, Capella puts users in full control with our simple and secure cloud console and flexible API. Capella's API-first philosophy enables customers to easily integrate Capella's tasking capabilities into their own proprietary applications. Data is tasked, collected, and delivered with unparalleled speed and efficiency. Our satellites capture ultra-high resolution features and changes to produce the best quality imagery available. And with our no human in the loop system and rapid revisit, we deliver this data right when you need it.
What we do here at Capella is we give ourselves many opportunities to push the boundaries of our technology and what would be seen as taking significant risk in just about any other space environment. But because we are deploying many satellites on a continuous basis, we have the ability to take risks without risking our customers' mission.
Capella's advanced SAR satellites are deployed in a variety of orbits, enabling consistent coverage of the Earth and rapid satellite revisit for minimal gaps in observation. Capella's SAR platform and data products are mission-ready to deploy across a range of applications. From wide area coverage down to specific areas of interest, our flexible imaging modes are designed to match your operational needs. Capella's imagery enables highly accurate object detection and classification, so regardless of nighttime or weather conditions, you never miss a thing.
In order to expand the use cases where SAR can be applied, Capella has stood up an ecosystem of analytics partners to address very specific needs of many different customers and their missions.
Our high-quality, high-resolution SAR data and automated tasking platform is ideal for developing advanced AI-powered analytics for rapid decision-making. We see a world where SAR is the standard for Earth observation, connecting people and information in new and interesting ways. We are amplifying intelligence where customers need it most.
All right, great time to be watching this launch, A Sky Full of SARS.
It's great to be back on the pad again with another
Capella
Capella
Space.
mission. While you might not get to see it during the webcast, included in this launch will be the use of our own Rocket Lab designed satellite separation system. This is the mechanism that keeps Capella's satellite attached to Electron on the way to space, and which releases Acadia 3 once it's in its target orbit. A huge shout out to our team in Silver Spring, Maryland. They've provided their motorized light bands, advanced light bands, and canisterized satellite deployers to deliver over 1,000 satellites into space with 100% success.
All right, everybody. I wanted to just give everybody a quick shout out. Thank you so much. For about 5 minutes until launch here. A little bit of a delay. So apologies that I went MIA for a minute. I had to move a boat in New Zealand to make sure that this went off smoothly. So I appreciate everyone's patience. And for those of you that are just waking up, I appreciate you waking up with me this morning. And for those international viewers, thank you for taking the opportunity to watch this launch with me. I know you could be on many other live streams right now that are very focused on space, but you're here with me, and that means a lot to me. Apologies once again, went to go get a cup of coffee. I wasn't actually moving the boat. I wish I was that important. I'm not. 4 minutes and 30 seconds till this Sky Full of SARS launch with Capella Space. Very excited to be here with you this morning. I would love to answer any of your questions in the chat box. Let's get back to the live stream.
On the rocket where liquid oxygen is being stored inside the tanks. The liquid oxygen is stored at minus 173 degrees Celsius, and the cold temperatures of that propellant causes any moisture on the outside to freeze, which is why you're seeing those white bands on stage 1 and stage 2.
At the bottom of that first stage are 9 Rutherford engines, each of them 3D printed and powered by batteries. With individual capability of up to 5,600 pounds of thrust force at sea level. Combined, the 9 engines produce about 50,400 pounds of thrust force to achieve liftoff. On the second stage is a single space-optimized Rutherford engine that powers the mission the rest of the way to orbit.
3 minutes, 30 seconds.
Our propellant combination for our Rutherford engines include the liquid oxygen James just mentioned before, mixed with rocket-grade kerosene used across both the first stage and second stage engines.
We're very proud of our Electron rocket, having launched for the 50th time just a few weeks back, making Electron the fastest commercially built rocket to launch 50 times. It's a huge achievement for the entire Rocket Lab team, and it was such a thrill to be able to experience it with everybody last month. Righto, glancing at the countdown clock, it is T-minus 3 minutes on the dot, and we're kicking into full gear. Shortly at T-minus 2 minutes, Electron's flight computer will take over the rest of the countdown autonomously. Liquid oxygen will continue to be loaded to Electron all the way up until T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds. And that's when we should hear the call from mission control that the lock system is in recirculation, meaning that...
All right, so I just want to take a quick moment. For those of you guys that don't know, we had the opportunity to interview Peter on Friday. Me, Dave, Scotto, as well as our friend Vince. You guys are very familiar with him. That will be going live at 6 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Central time for me. All 4 of us will be releasing our individual pieces of the interview, and then I guess we have to reconvene. I think we're releasing it on Monday. Maybe we should do it on Tuesday. I'll double check with those guys when we're releasing the full interview, but really good time. But let's get back to the launch, and we can talk more about it afterwards because there's a lot to talk about.
The vehicle is fully on internal power. AFGs is green and enabled for flight.
I appreciate the 47 of you guys hanging out, almost 50 of you guys hanging out for the launch with me this morning. I appreciate the delay, but we're back on track and we're about to launch this sucker.
Box load is complete. System is in recirculation.
About a minute. Yeah, Vince is just streaming my stream. So if you guys are interested in chit chatting a little bit, feel free to join over my streams. Vince was here earlier, but then with the delay, he went to go do some family stuff. So he just left it running. He figured he'd let me make me work for his money. That's a joke. I don't really care. All right, T minus 20 seconds.
T minus 20 seconds and counting.
Sky full of SARS, which I'm not really the biggest fan of that name, but it is what it is.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
Let's go, baby. 52, baby. Nine Rutherfords right there. And it goes up, not sideways.
Electron has left the pad at Rocket Lab Launch Complex 1 and is soaring sky high on its mission for Capella. The first milestone the rocket will pass through is max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure, the crossover point between dynamic pressure increasing with speed and static pressure decreasing with altitude.
Extra sparky today.
It causes the most amount of physical stress on the vehicle, so it's one our team watches out for. That call out should be coming from mission control.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like I know it's another way to say like there's satellites that they're launching, but like I don't know. It was a big deal in the early 2000s in Asia. Like too soon. Looks like Vince got a haircut.
Cleared max Q.
Fat Harley with these haulers
and Electron
on.
has cleared max Q.
Fat Harley.
The rocket is performing nominally so far, now up to 2,100 kilometers an hour in speed as it soars past 20 kilometers in altitude. Occurring next will be 3 events across Electron that will happen within seconds of each other. The first is MECO, or main engine cutoff. The power pack for stage 1, consisting of the 9 Rutherford engines,
that's what I think,
will
man. I
throttle
feel like
down
it's extra,
and then shut off completely.
Extra sparky
ahead
today.
of the second event, which is called out as stage separation.
Welcome from Canada,
That's
my
when
friend.
The second stage separates away from the first stage. A few seconds later, the third event happens, which is ignition of the second stage's Rutherford engine to carry on with the mission. You'll be able to see those 3 events happen in real time from the onboard camera streams, and those callouts should be coming from mission control shortly.
Interesting. Yeah, I was just thinking it's like a little fiery, a little sparky. I'm with you, Turk. It seems a little interesting, but the funny thing is, my dad always told me, "Have you been confused with Jonah Hill? Just Jonah Hill in general, not necessarily, not really from specifically War Dogs, but yes, the War Dogs one is the look that I'm going after with these sunglasses. But my dad always wanted me to get like a Harley. Like, he always wanted me to get a Fat Boy because, like, I don't know."
Confirmed.
At the time, and he was just like, instead of getting a truck or whatever that I wanted to get, he was like,
Stage
get
separation confirmed.
Stage 2 ignition confirmed.
There we go. Like, just get this $9,800 Harley.
So a successful MECO, stage separation, and second stage ignition there for Electron. Telemetry data for that second stage shows it's moving at more than 7,800 kilometers an hour, now just about to pass 100 kilometers above Earth. There should be no blockers for the next milestone, which is fairing jettison, and that's when Electron's nose cone separates and falls away in preparation for the end of the mission. We might see those 2 halves falling away on the screen as well, so let's keep an eye out for that.
Well, even though it was sparky and it had me a little concerned, so that's why I was nervous talking my way through it.
Guidance is nominal.
Looks like we are okay. So thank you for the 60 of you being here. Thank you for waking up with me.
HV battery discharge.
Apologies for my tardiness. I was just grabbing a cup of coffee. But yeah, my dad wanted me to get a Harley, like a Fat Boy Harley. It was like $9,800. It's like 15 years ago. And I was like, probably not. So far, so good. Peter got the separations back in line. Heard that.
There it goes. We heard the call from Mission Control that fairing separation has completed and introduced the Capella payload to space. The mission is now past 150 kilometers in altitude as we make our way to today's orbit, with the Rutherford engine powering Electron's second stage at speeds of more than 9,700 kilometers per hour.
Now at 4 minutes and 30 seconds into the mission, we have a couple of minutes to go until our next mission milestone. That will be the battery hot swap on the second stage, currently expected to take place at the T+6 minute 30 mark. Meanwhile, Electron continues to perform nominally on its way to orbit for Capella. The payload is headed to a 615-kilometer circular Earth orbit, where it will join the rest of Capella's constellation of Earth-observing small sats.
Yeah, exactly.
Battery discharge, nominal.
Little bros and Rocket Lab in the morning. Never heard anybody.
We're coming up now on the battery hot swap for the second stage Rutherford engine. This is an action we perform to make sure the engine has ample battery power to continue firing all the way until orbit. You should be able to see the depleted batteries fall away in place of the fully charged third pack shortly, which will be our visual confirmation that battery hot swap has been completed.
Oh, it's my guy, Stefan.
Guidance is nominal. 200 seconds remaining.
What's up, my guy? I didn't realize I was you that wrote that. Buy a cool car. Can't afford it. I'm broke. Spy was a better investment. Agreed. Max Q, my guy.
HVB battery discharge, nominal. Approaching hot swap in roughly 30 seconds.
We didn't find out much about the mega constellation with the interview, but we did talk about it. We got a little bit more color, but
rolling down.
Not sure if communications is the biggest. It might be. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like internet and communications is different, right? You communicate over the internet, but
battery jettison confirmed.
Internet isn't necessarily communication.
That was the call that battery hot swap is confirmed. Now, last launch, we introduced some changes to our high voltage battery system, and that hardware is part of our Gen 2 batteries for the Rutherford engine. We redesigned the batteries to introduce more resilience into the system and to improve its electrical performance. 7 minutes and 5 seconds into the mission, hearing nominal calls here from our operators in Rocket Lab Mission Control, and all remains healthy with Capella's satellites on board. If we can bring up the propellant overlays there, here we go. We'll see we've got about 27% propellant remaining in our stage 2 burn. Still about 2 minutes to go until the end of that burn, but as you can see, the nozzle continues to glow hot and bright as we approach 7 minutes and 30 seconds into flight.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a good bit about the constellation. We talked about haste. We talked about everything in the interview.
HV battery discharge, holding nominal.
That you guys will be able to see.
T+7 minutes and 48 seconds into flight, and Electron's stage 2 burn continues nominally. We're getting some beautiful views of the darkness of space from the onboard camera as we make our way around the globe ahead of orbital insertion, which should occur just off of the coast of Antarctica.
Yeah, -177 is cold. Yeah, we talked about a lot of things, man. Like, I feel like everyone's worried about constellation because that's what they see what Starlink is doing. And, like, I get it. But there's so many other avenues for increasing the backlog. And even having I had a really good conversation with Adam.
As we've been listening in to Mission Control, our GNC operator has confirmed guidance is nominal, and we're about 45 seconds away from second engine cutoff or SECO, followed by kick stage separation. We're looking for that magic number there, just over 27,000 kilometers per hour, which marks orbital velocity.
Yeah.
Guidance is in terminal. 20 seconds remaining.
I asked Adam a good question about Mega Constellation, about like what's their break even and stuff of the like with when they're obviously using Neutron to launch satellites, and he gave a really good answer. Made me feel really comfortable about how they're thinking about it. You got to watch the interview to find out.
Seco confirmed.
That's kind of cool, seeing the dimming of the
Stage 3 separation confirmed.
Seco confirmed across the nets, as you can tell from the nozzle on your screen, as you could tell from it getting cold as the engine shut down as planned. The kick stage has also successfully been released from the second stage and is now entering what we call the coast phase. For the next 40 or so minutes, the kick stage will be in an elliptical orbit around Earth before the Curie engine ignites and raises the kick stage's perigee to put us into a circular orbit. From here, we'll deploy Capella's Acadia satellite into its place in the constellation.
And just like that, it doesn't take long to get to orbit once you've got 60,000 pounds of thrust behind you. We'll take a bit of a break on the webcast now, but we'll be back with you closer to payload deployment to listen in on those final moments from mission control. Payload deployment's expected in about T plus 56 minutes, so we'll see you back here soon.
All right, everybody. So I have time to chit chat with you guys. I won't be here for announcement of. Let's get this off so they don't demonetize me, because they did last time. The sunglasses do come out for rocket launches and Palantir Weekly, yes, especially when the stock is up. If it's not, it just kind of looks a little messed up. You know what I mean? It's like the tuxedo part when you're watching Step Brothers, and he farts and he's like, now that the tuxedos seem a little messed up. But anyway, Beck and Spice were kind enough to interview with 4 of us YouTubers on Friday. Me, Dave G, Scott, as well as our friend Vince. And for those of you, the 50 of you, 60 of you that are watching on Vince's channel, that'll be posted here in a little bit. Actually, let me share that screen. I think I have it up here somewhere. Let me see. So it will be a premiere here. Let's see, right here. A premiere here in about 8-9 hours or so. So luckily for us, people are like, oh, there's just like a random interview. It's like, no. Like, we actually had a legit interview, all of us. We actually got our individual questions in. Unfortunately, we all were hoping to kind of get some sort of alone time with them. But of course, they're busy people. And so they asked if we could spend 45 minutes with all 4 of us and be able to figure out the logistics of that. So we were able to professionally collaborate as a group. And I think actually ended up as a really good interview, because in that respect, we really had to collaborate and figure out what questions we were going to ask. And so it was a really good opportunity to chit chat with the other folks. And we all have our own individual reasons and questions and thought process and perspective as to what's important for each of us here as investors. And so it really allowed us to understand what's important to one another, and it really allowed us to see it. But I think in terms of that being released 8 hours from now, so that's 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So for you guys on the West Coast, that's probably 3 p.m. West Coast time. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And I guess for those friends that are in the UK, it'd be like 11 or noonish if you're at kind of GMT 0. So hopefully you guys can do well with that and answer any of the questions that I had kind of prefacing the video. Who's your favorite question that got answered, etc. And so it'll be kind of like a around the way, because you'll have to go. If you want to watch it in order, you'd watch Vince's first, you'd watch Dave's second, you'd watch mine third, and you'd watch Scott's last. That's kind of how we asked, but they're standalone, right? You don't need to watch it in order by any means. And then we'll release the video for the full interview in a couple days' time as well. Do you think if you launched a fish into space but left it in water in a perfect environment that it would notice? Yes, because eventually it would get cold and freeze to death. Matt, I know Dave is hoping to attend Neutron launch when it happens. Will you and Vince be hoping to attend? Yes, and I've been in contact with Chris, and he's kind of a Virginian in the area, and so I've been chatting with him about good hotels and stuff to stay at. You're my premier, our premier. It'll always be our premier. Got your Rocket Lab cap for the launch. Only cost you £50 from the US. Money well spent, but could have been spent on shares. Sometimes you got to live for the happiness. Nominal launch. Yes, sir. Nominal launch. My headset died. Nominal launch. No problems with it. As expected. It did look a little sparky. So from that perspective, a few of us were like, oh, it looks a little fiery. And then from the glare on the camera, it looked like the whole rocket went up in flames for like a split second. And then we realized it was kind of just like the glare. So because of the glare from the orange and the ice on the camera, it looked like the whole rocket went up in flames for a second. And then that melted. So anyway, it's a perfect environment, just 0G. Exactly. But these are important questions with respect to the coldness of it. So anyway, very excited for you guys to see the interview. Like I said, I think it was phenomenal questions that we were able to ask, and really appreciate Adam and Sir Peter to take the time and chit chat with us, because, you know, at first we thought it was just going to be individual interviews, and then it turned into, hey, do you have 45 minutes for Pete? And then do you have also some questions for Adam? And it was really cool. So then we were actually able to formulate some questions for him as well. And so overall, things just went really well. The questions really flowed well together. We chit-chatted, we adjusted our questioning, and so none of us, we covered a wide array of topics, because obviously all four of us were collaborating together, not stepping on each other's toes, etc. So some really great answers about some things that you probably haven't even thought about for Rocket Lab get answered in this interview. Things about haste, about the future of people transport, about Neutron, about some of the upcoming satellite missions, about the backlog. It's just an absolute run of bunch of different topics that I don't think we missed anything, to be completely blunt with you guys. And if we did, please let us know in the comment section. So overall, an absolute blast. Any chance with a joint Rocket Lab merch between you all? Good question. I know that Dave does some, I think. Looking forward to the interview. Yeah, it's really good. I watched it again, obviously, last night. I was doing some final editing, and I'm just like, I'm still in amazement. Just about, like, the whole thing just seems kind of like surreal, right? You have the piece about the company itself just being an absolute monster. And it's been such a blast to watch them since 2021 come into being this company that has launched at that point 20 or 30 or so rockets, to now being this massively important, I would say, satellite maker in the industry, coupled with being on the precipice of competing into medium launch and taking a significant market share away. I mean, we're in the midst of a battle not too dissimilar to where we were in 2020 and 2021, when you had SpaceX obviously being the leader in the segment. And, you know, I guess they had kind of already retired Falcon 1 by that point, but you had a bunch of people really trying to get to first launch and subsequent launches by 2020, 2021. And Pete really took advantage of that, and had gotten to, 20 odd launches by the time they had actually, SPAC'd and everything like that. And Astro was still struggling to get up their launches, and etc. And you're in a very similar spot now with medium launch. Like, you have New Glenn being on track for January 25. How does that actually perform? Does it actually get to orbit? How does it perform with respect to the Escapade satellites, etc.? Then you have a few others that are coming online in 26 and 27. You have Neutron coming online in mid 25. So it's just like this other race of exactly what happened 5-6 years ago with small launch. So it's going to be fun to kind of see what plays out, because everyone has their teams, you know. Just logged on, getting into Rocket Lab. What just happened? We just had a launch, very successful 50-second launch. I'm upset because I bought a ton of shares in a 401k when I could have had them in a Roth 401k. So now I have to buy even more. I'm just going to go hard on this one over the next year. Enjoy the risk. I think you have 12 months, man. 12 months before. And even with Neutron, I think, you know, until they announce a big contract, I think it'll still be suppressed. But they're going to go, you know, they did we talk about this in the interview? I don't want to display something that was in the interview. I don't think we did. But I'll hold off on it because there's some really good insights that Pete has. I don't know if it was in the earnings call or if it was in a different chat, but anyway, didn't understand your retirement accounts. You can stack Roth 401k and Roth IRA, self-direct 401k, and they stack going hard on Rocket Lab all 2025 and your 6,000 shares all year. 6,000 is phenomenal, my man. 6,000 shares is about $30,000. That's not a small chunk of change. Congratulations. I can see that being worth $300,000 not too distant future. Yeah, Vince was here earlier, but we did have the delay in the launch, and so he left it to me. Not a problem. Hello. Yes. No, I hacked into Vince's YouTube. No, Vince was here, and then he hit his camera, left, and never shut his stream down because we were waiting to see whether or not we were going to have another launch window, and we did. Originally, there was some weather. Then when weather subsided with the winds, then there was a boat. I went to go get a coffee and then came back, and luckily, within 10 minutes, we were launching. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Miss Lisa. How are you? When do you think Starlink will IPO? That should be good for Rocket Lab, no? I don't know. That's a hard one. I don't know the answer to that one. You were too conservative, Matt. This will be 20 before the end of the year. Look at garbage like ASTS, no revenue, 6 billion market cap in a month from 300 million market cap. It depends, man, but I think this is one of those stocks that, you know, everyone and their mom doesn't like. They're like, Starlink SpaceX is the only company in the world, and Starlink will eat Rocket Lab's lunch, and you know, and I think there needs to be a sentiment change at the Wall Street level before they're really, and that's the sentiment change for ASTS, and that's why it's jumped up in market cap so much. Don't want to pay taxes. I hear you, my guy. Missed your question. Sorry, my friend. Question for next video: can we get a Falcon Heavy kind of situation with Neutron? Good question. What do you mean by that? I'm still trying to understand that one. So, for those of you guys that don't understand, what was it? So the lift capability of Neutron, for those that are following, is like 8,000 kilograms. If you want to return the Neutron back to Wallops, which at the moment Neutron is only going to fly out of Wallops, from what I know. Can't say the same for Haste. Wink, wink. If you have to watch the interview for that last piece of detail there. That's all I'll say. If you wanted to reuse Neutron, doesn't necessarily have to return to Wallops, but can go and land, you know, in a different drone ship or something like that. That's 13,000 kilograms, so almost double the lift capability. And then if you want to expand and not really have the reusability at all for Neutron, you can lift 15,000 kilograms. So Peter just said, perfect transfer to orbit. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. You were right. Definitely prepared for the long haul. I think Rocket Lab is harder for people to get than ASTS. They don't understand space systems or it being an end this launch. 3 booster cores, 1 launch. Oh, I don't think so. At the time, I don't know. I don't think there would be at the time being. I don't know if there's ever a plan for a sort of heavy launch vehicle. I'm saying I don't know, right? I'm not saying no, right? I'm saying I don't know because I don't. That's interesting. Are neutrons lift cable that Rocket Lab puts out also with their engines at 20% power math? What if they put the engines to all 60% power? How much lift do we have? I think that's the 15,000 kilograms non-reusable, right? So 13,000 kilograms it's if you want to reuse it, land it again, and then the 15,000 kilograms is if it's expendable, and that's on the website. But whether or not that's full, I don't know. And there's some optimization in there as well, like we were talking about with Electron. Some of the things, and we've heard about like efficiencies, and people are like, ooh, is that like 20%? It's not 20%. It's like a couple percent, but you can find a little bit more granularity about those details. What's my bear case? It goes to fucking 0. Just kidding. But no, seriously, I mean, it's a rocket company at the end of the day. I think that before it actually goes to 0, it gets bought out or sold, right? I think these guys are smart enough to know. I mean, I don't think that they will fail, but I think that they're smart enough to know that if they're on a trajectory for bad pastures, that they would probably sell the company to a Google or an Amazon or an Apple way before. And I think that they would figure out a way to keep it going. But I find it hard to believe that your second most launched US vehicle and you go bankrupt. I foresee a lot of other players going bankrupt before this. So to me, once you see other players going bankrupt and all the other players go bankrupt, one, that actually strengthens Rocket Lab's position. Say if an Astra actually goes bankrupt instead of going private, and then 2, if Relativity and many others go bankrupt, that actually strengthens Rocket Lab, considering they have $500 million on the balance sheet as of the end of the second quarter for burn rate, etc. But I think it's you have several years before you get to that point of where they would actually have to go bankrupt and actually liquidate assets and stuff of the like. But could always go that way, but I think it'll be sold in its worst case scenario for $3 to $4 a share at about a $1.5 to $2 billion valuation to somebody else before they actually went belly up. Do you think Rocket Lab will go down if IWM goes down? Could very possibly be. But I also think that there's going to be a tailwind associated with lower interest rates. Maybe strap a few electrons to 1 neutron would be pretty cool. Maybe, man. I really don't know. Heavy launch vehicle is called Proton. I saw, the other day you were talking about where's the Proton? Crazy how much more valuable the business is worth today and more developed, yet the share price is lower than a year ago. Guess that is the market. Yeah, I just think it's a tough space environment, man. I think you see people like Virgin Orbit go out of business. You see Astra going out of business. All that drags down on these small launch folks. And without being further along and being in the billions of dollars of revenue and establishing yourself as a fortress like SpaceX has, I think you just have that sort of trouble. And I just think there's something to be said. It's kind of a crap metric, but I think it's kind of important, specifically for us, considering we're still growing as an organization. But there's something like over 60% of US launches, excluding SpaceX, were from Rocket Lab. So the second launch most vehicle, yes. But if you exclude the leader, then we own the majority of everything else, which I think is pretty interesting. So yes, there's still room to build. There's still room to be growing alongside SpaceX and actually challenge them for market share. But we own the second most launched vehicle in the U.S., third most worldwide so far. How does that not happen? Time frame for Constellation. It would have to be after Neutron. I don't think that they would take this on with Electron. I just think it would be too much. Because you think about it, Neutron at cost might be $2 to $3, maybe $4 million to launch, versus a Neutron would be, I'm guesstimating here, 25 to 30 million initially to launch. So it's 10x the 10x the cost, but also 30x the lifting capability. If that makes sense. So the cost per kilogram to get to space is much less using the Neutron. Bear case in the sense of what would have to go wrong for it to happen. I mean, everything. I don't know. I mean, they have a very successful space system business that's running and running through the backlog, which was all 30% gross margin or below, and now they're north of 30% gross margins. Electron is running north of 30% gross margins now. The whole company's running north of 30% gross margins. So as revenue continues to increase, I guess the potential is that they don't increase cadence for Electron, and they don't get Neutron off the ground, and they're just kind of floundering at $500 to $600 million in revenue. And they don't get a place where they're starting to build a lot of infrastructure at this point now that they're getting closer and closer to break even, to be able to build for space systems and other clients and stuff of the like. And so with that, they don't generate enough income or revenue rather to offset their total expenses of running other parts of the business. I think this could change when they realize the power thrust, 13,000 kilograms is average, at least on the site. 13,000 kilograms is if they want it to be reusable. Should I hope not? I have 34,000 shares in this bitch. I don't have that many, and I don't think it's going to zero, but you know, it is a space company. 2026. I don't know what this is in reference to. Why isn't using SpaceX? Good question, man. I've been wondering the same thing. I think it just, you know, it takes time to plan a lot of those things. They can already develop satellites, yeah. Do you think their tech and rocket can be utilized in other fields besides space, like warfare, like LMT? Yeah, man, they're already developing HASTE, and HASTE is suborbital, and they have a lot of contracts coming up between now. I have a really interesting question that I ask Pete and Spice about this one with respect to HASTE. And there's some really good insights in the interview on my section specifically about this one. And then Scotto follows up with HASTE questions as well. So if you guys are particular about HASTE and the potential defense piece of it, be sure to check out my part and Scott's part of the interview. Does Pete have issues recruiting the top talent? Pete is the top talent, so I don't think so. And based off of what I've seen so far, I'm saying no. I've seen a lot of people saying that they can't get jobs. So to me, and I've seen some of the candidates, some of them are smart, not to say that they aren't, but some of them I'm like, yeah, I kind of get it. Everyone I've seen and heard from at Rocket Lab has been top tier. When do you see institutional investors getting excited about space and Rocket Lab? Maybe with some more consolidation once medium launch gets a little bit more competitive. I feel like when medium launch get the revenue generation from medium launch will really be what puts this into the next level, and two quarters or so after 2 quarters or so after the first Neutron launch is kind of when they're predicting kind of cash flow break even. And once that happens, I feel like it'll start to get some attention because a space company that makes money. No Wall Street love. There's a number of guys don't know what they. Yeah, exactly. Macro is damaged to where we should be on the price. We should be at 6 plus. 100% agreed. Say what you will about making an efficient vehicle, but holy shit, that Starship is badass when it cracks off. It's a pretty insane. Not gonna lie, but I'm just kind of curious, like, and I feel like we had a good conversation. It's not completely related to this, but it goes back to a question I asked Peter. And you guys will know when you hear it, but it was basically, why aren't you doing this? And it was basically like, the market's not there for it yet, right? So just like initially, I think that they at Rocket Lab, they weren't going to build a medium launch vehicle, which is why Pete had to eat his hat, right? Because originally they thought, I think, small launch was going to be the majority of what people wanted. And then I guess the market kind of grew to actually expand into potentially wanting medium launch. And so what I will say is there's nothing that's off the table from my perspective as a shareholder, and after having the conversation on Friday with Sir Peter and with Spice, nothing's off the table. They just want to make sure there's a market for it. And that'll make sense to you guys when you watch the interview. You'll be like, okay, that makes sense. Because I asked a direct question like, you guys said you're looking into something. What happened with that? And they're like, yeah, we're capable to do it. It's just there's no market for it at the moment. And maybe there'll be a market and we'll have that ability to shift if that market grows. But for right now, we don't see it. And so it's like, oh, shit. So if heavy becomes an opportunity, I don't think Rocket Lab's going to shy away from it. And if other things become an opportunity, I don't think Rocket Lab's going to shy away from it. I think they're just looking for, is there sustainable? Because there's a lot of great nuggets that were like, we could have bases all around the world, pretty much. I'm probably speaking too much at this point, but it's like, is it going to be profitable for you as an organization, as a country, etc.? And so, there's more color on that in the interview, but that's all I'll say. Selling some shares next week to grab some cap gains losses to offset some gains needed to wait 30 days for wash sale. I can jump back in before rate cuts, but where would you park some money? I just wouldn't sell it all. If you're asking me, I wouldn't sell it all. I don't play that tax game. I play the long game. But where would I park money for the next 30 days? If you really are forced to sell for some reason, just keep the cash. Put it in a savings account, I don't know. 30 days time, you're like, that's like asking a crystal ball, right? There's literally nothing that you can do. I can't predict if it's going to go up, down, sideways. Institutional ownership is increasing over the years. Good sign indeed. We are too diverse. The most grows daily. The moat grows daily. I agree. Like the most. I was like, I don't know what you mean. Can Neutron payload bay be fitted with netting to capture and deorbit space debris? I think the best person to answer this at the moment is Astroscale and what they're trying to do to help deorbit stuff and that at the moment. But we talk a little bit about that in the interview as well. So, bear case, God turns off space. Yeah, you just look up one day, there's just no stars. You're like, well, we tried, guys. We just didn't get there in time, Have been in since day one. Listen to Warren Buffett, and my thought is that buying a part of a business, I know more about this business now than the company I work for. Looking forward to the interview. Yeah, man, I can't, like, you guys are thinking I'm trying to market it. Like, you guys know me. I try not to toot my own horn too much, but the whole time I'm sitting there like, this is a rock star interview. I don't think it could have gone any better. For the situation that we were thrown only having 45 minutes between the four of us, I think we absolutely knocked it out of the park. I don't think there was any questions that we left or any stones that we left unturned. It was phenomenal. Yes, the best way, if you want to like watch it in order, it would go Vince, Dave, me, Scott, right? That's how we kind of went through it. So I would go to Vince's channel first. I would go to Dave's, but I feel like you could watch it out of order. It doesn't really matter. Just that you watch it all, because all the questions, I would say, hit on so many diverse topics. Nobody really covers the same topic. Even Scott and I, we both had haste questions, but they were completely different. And, you have four investors, four different outlooks, four different perspectives, diversity through being able to collaborate with each other. And, at the end of the day, I think it actually ended up being better than the first quarter interview, just because, yes, me and Vince were able to have more time with Pete, but at the end of the day, like, it allowed us to collaborate a little bit more. And not to say that Vince and I didn't collaborate well in the first quarter. It was just, there was some questions that overlapped or like kind of were answered again in the Dave interview, and had we collaborated a little bit, even if we get individual, what's that? He recruited us and we work for free. We were like their IR. Yeah. Even if we don't do the combined interview in 3Q or 4Q, if we're fortunate enough to get an interview again, which it went well, like there was no combativeness, so don't be like there's no way they're coming back. But these guys get busy. Obviously, they're running an organization, and specifically when it gets closer and closer to Neutron, time might be tighter and tighter. So I'm not banking on another interview, but I'm sure in the future, you just can't guarantee it's going to be 3Q. I'm sure there's going to be another interview in the future. But that being said, what was I going to say? I want to collaborate with those guys regardless if we have individual interviews or not, because it allows us to really get everything out of the interviews. Can you provide one example where you think Neutron point-to-point transparent Earth makes sense? I'm not a rocket scientist, but I think it's evident. 13,000 kilograms, especially if you need something very quickly, and at cost, once reusability becomes a thing, I'm sure you can get down the cost of launch pretty good. Military logistics is another one, probably. Can Neutron take people to space? You'll have to watch the interview. It's a really good question that I asked Pete, actually. I will say, if you really want to answer this question, I will lead you there. September 2022 investor presentation slide, I want to say 28, but I could be wrong on the slide number, but I definitely know it's September 2022 Investor Day presentation. It's part of the Neutron section. Please go a look. But yes, we do answer this in the in the interview. So my question, actually. Completely. I wouldn't want them to build crap for no reason with no market. Also, same question in the interview. They will grow the space market. 25K savings on taxes selling 625 shares. Hey, man, I don't know your tax situation, so maybe it makes sense to you. I'm not following. I'm not good with the whole tax thing. So all the power to you. If you know what you're doing, you know your situation way better than I do. All I can say is Godspeed, and I'm rooting for you. If you want my opinion on where to store money for 30 days, I'd say the best place, especially if you want it to be guaranteed to be there in 30 days, savings account. Amex has a really good savings account. They're paying 4%. Money market and Fidelity is paying 4%. There's a lot of, just double check that you're putting things in a money market. It'll get you the best interest rates for the time being. SoFi savings, $300 sign up. That's also true. You can get like a quick sign up bonus, but some of them might make you keep your money in there for an extended period of time. Please post Dave and Scott links. They are in. So for those of you guys that haven't hit my, please, if you haven't already, hit the bell notification. I don't ever ask people to do that, but this might be an appropriate time. If you really do want to watch the interview, you don't want to miss anything, go to my channel, hit the bell notification, and all of the links for Scott, Dave, Vince are all in my description of this video. The premiere is at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. So hit that bell notification, especially if you like today's stream. And yeah, that'd be much appreciated, because I know a lot of people go to Vince's stream because we do a lot of Rocket Lab Weekly, and I never really co-streamed over there. So if you guys haven't already, please come over and follow my channel as well. Right? I focus a little bit more on other things. Not downplaying Vince. Vince does a phenomenal job, but he focuses a lot on Palantir and Rocket Lab. I focus a little bit on some other stocks as well. So if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about other stocks, we have our similarities, but I also look at other stocks as well. I'm also like an index investor for the majority of my stuff as well. So we're starting to lose followers here. I think people are starting to lose interest in the Rocket Lab stream, and I'm not very good about holding a conversation, but we're having some good questions, and I don't want to leave you guys hanging. Time to head out. Karen, thank you so much for tuning in from Iraq, man. Holy shit. Thank you. Much appreciated. We had some people from South Korea, Australia, New Zealand. Boeing sucks. Jesus. 3 p.m. Pacific. Thank you, Junebug. That is important. 3 p.m. Pacific for you folks. Get your popcorn. I'll be watching this when I go to London in the morning. Well, hopefully you can skip to the good parts, because at some point I had to go to New Zealand to move a boat. I meant to say it's a shame that Boeing sucks. I agree. UK, Great Britain here. I may or may not be in an undisclosed European location, aka the UK. It's probably the only time I'll say that. At the end of September. Most likely Richmond area in London. But all right, guys, I appreciate it. We had a pretty much nominal separation. Hopefully we can get into good orbit. Let's see what Rocket Lab has to say here. Let me zoom down. That's liftoff. Second stage as planned. Payload deployment at plus 56. What are we at right now? We are at plus 46. Okay, so we have had a successful third stage deployment, but I will not be sticking around for the next 10 minutes. I'm going to get after some articles that I need to write, Dutch Bros being one of them, Palantir and Rocket Lab being others. Bros says, the longest line when I went yesterday, Matt. Going to buy some more stocks on Monday on the recent drop. Thanks for everything you do. Joe, thank you for being a friend of the channel. It means a lot to me. Seriously, it's a lot of fun to be able to talk stocks. Nobody else wants to talk stocks with me in my personal life. So they're all just like, is it going to make me money? And I'm like, I guess. Like, do you want to hear about the stock? And they're like, not really. Is it going to make me money? And it's like, well, there's more to the stock than it's just making you money. Like, I know that that's the end goal, but like, do you care? They're like, I don't care. As long as it makes me money, like, don't talk to me about it. Give me the ticker symbol funny man. It's a lot about like same thing about like X. So anybody that actually wants to come by the channel, chit chat, ask questions, poke prod, and I don't have all the answers, but I try my best. Thank you for checking mine out, George. Much appreciated. But yeah, dude, just the earnings call for Bros, dude. You're just like sitting there. You're just like, these guys are moving. They're kicking. They're shaking. And you think about it, they've already saturated a lot of the California market. I'm not saying that Dutch Bros isn't going to open up more shops in California. They are. But the majority of their volume is going to be coming in towards the center of America and the East Coast, where they don't have the $20 minimum wage. So in that respect, their margins are going to be better, and they have improved as they've gone east from California, because obviously people know that they're from the Northwest U.S., right, the Oregon area. And so since they've kind of expanded into Texas and everything like that, margins have improved. Some of that from menu prices and things of the like, but also just because labor gets cheaper as you go east. And so we're now in the precipice of moving towards the Northeast, and prices are even going to get even better. So not far from where I'm working, grab a beer. My man, didn't realize Bros was under $30. My guy, I increased my position 60% the other day when it dropped. I bought $28.96, 310 shares, just under 10 grand's worth or something like that, or maybe it was 11 grand's worth. I don't remember. It's not important, but increased the position by 60%. It was a great opportunity. Good night for you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Look forward to the interviews. Thank you all for your work. Thank you, Make. Appreciate you stopping by. Great time as always. Catch the interview later. It'll be a blast. Bros needs to have an online ordering app working at 100% of the stores. It's coming, my guy. It's coming. They talk about it a good bit in the earnings call. So all good with that. And most Bros have kind of a single line consolidating down to the window where you pick up your order, and sometimes they'll be able to walk out your order and hand it to you before you get to the window. But there's this little, like, most Bros that I've been to so far always have like that, the second lane that gets converged into the first lane, the single lane. But then there's like little area that is kind of like hashed off, and I feel like that's where the mobile the drive-through mobile order is going to be. I think I just heard something. Did I just hear something? I don't know. I have this on mute. So anyway, you guys rock. I appreciate you. I'm starting to fall asleep again. I need to go take a nap before I finish up writing this stuff. Love Bros. However, worried about the dollar spent on expansions. It's temporary. We're almost to the point where they're self-funding. 200 million to 225 million in EBITDA. They're pulling back a little bit on cap expenditures, hoping to get a little bit of relief with the interest rates. At least that's what they talked about in the earnings call. So we're only running at a deficit of about $50 or $60 million in cash flow. So hopefully with the growth, 30% year-over-year revenue growth, hopefully that continues into the high 20s, low 30s into next year, coupled with good menu prices as well as expansion into new territory with cheaper labor costs. Hopefully we maintain about a 30% year-over-year revenue growth going into 25. And if that's the case, I foresee being maybe like 20 to 30 million in the deficit for next year. But by 2026, I kind of imagine close to a break even in terms of CapEx spend. Now, of course, there's always going to be other things that come into play as well. But I assume by 2026, 2027, we'll kind of get to that break even point. And I think that was part of the reason why they pulled back, I think, on the stock. Analysts did, because they asked point blank, like, when are you guys going to break even? They're like, it's not 25. So we're afraid at the moment to kind of give any sort of guidance for anything beyond 2025, because obviously recessions and stuff could obviously happen in 25. And there's a weakening of the consumer a slight bit from what they've observed. So before, generally speaking, just because it gets colder out in 3Q and 4Q in the United States, people generally are spending less. Generally, the second quarter is always their best, right? It's springtime, early summer, so people are getting out of their houses and they're spending more money. Late 3Q, 4Q, people are looking more towards, saving for the rest of the year, for Christmas, etc. So the consumer isn't spending as much. So that being said, 3Q and 4Q for Bros, it grows year over year, but quarter over quarter, it generally doesn't look as good because second quarter, there's always a huge bump up from the first quarter to the second quarter for Bros, at least for the past 3 to 4 years. And so I think people were kind of concerned hearing that they don't really see a large growth of revenue quarter over quarter, but year over year, they expect massive growth. And so anyway, just some food for thought there that really pulled back, I think, and scared analysts. But I think for me, looking at that was an opportunity to buy. So I pulled the trigger. So anyway, I'm losing everybody. Only 20 of you guys on. You're probably getting your midday started, going to church or getting your coffees, etc. But yeah, Dutch Bros are pulling up everywhere. I agree. You guys rock. Appreciate it. I'm going to take a nap and then I'm going to finish up some of these articles for you guys. Hope you guys enjoy. Talk to you guys soon.